Michael Bay, please stick to your word this time. Hey, what's up, you guys? Film fan 0599 here again. And today we're going to review Transformers: The Last Knight. So Transformers: The Last Knight stars Mark Wahlberg and Anthony Hopkins, and what this film is basically about, it's about you know what, to be completely honest with you, what is even the plot to this movie? Like, really, seriously, what is the plot to this movie? The movie is so jumbled in its story that you have no idea of what the main plot of it is, because there's like 5 different storylines going on at the same time in this dang movie. I guess it's about Mark Wahlberg trying to help the Autobots. It's trying to get this, stopping, getting this staff or whatever. Like, seriously, that's how confusing, not necessarily confusing, but how jumbled this story is. I can't even pinpoint what the main plot of this movie is, because that's how jumbled this film is. And, you know, of course, they were going to make another one because, you know, Age of Extinction made a bunch of money. It made $1 billion worldwide. That piece of crap juice made $1 billion. What have we done? And now, of course, we're going to get another one of these. Another one of these Transformers films. You know, some people, you know, actually had some faith in this one. I don't know why, but they did. You know, they were like, oh, this can actually be good. And then I saw the trailer. I'm like, this looks like the same old crap as the other ones. Like, how is anybody, like, saying, like, oh, this could be different? This look, like, literally, the trailer was the exact same thing as the other trailers. I'm like, no, this is going to be garbage. I know it's going to be. And everybody was like, oh no, let's give it a chance. I'm like, you know, oh listen, I give every movie a chance, but I knew from the start, this was not going to be good. You want to know something? Guess what? It wasn't! Actually, you want to know something? It's beyond not just not good. It's beyond that. It's beyond awful. It's beyond garbage. This movie is one of the worst things I think I've ever seen in my life. I thought nothing, and I'm dead serious, I thought nothing could be worse than Revenge of the Fallen. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, oh, it has happened. Not only have we got the worst Transformers movie yet, not only do we have what could be the worst blockbuster of the entire decade, we have one of the worst movies I think ever created. This movie is a complete and utter dumpster fire. It is such a mess. It is, I could not believe how bad this movie was. Within 1 minute, I'm not even joking, within 1 minute of this movie, I'm like, this is gonna be awful. This is gonna be terrible, isn't it? And then, just from then on, and even forward with this movie, it just kept getting worse, and worse, and worse, and worse, and worse, as it went on. It truly did. And I was baffled of how awful that movie was. This movie is just garbage. It is an absolute travesty to cinema. It is. It is an absolute abomination against humanity. It is truly an awful movie. Seriously, it is truly an awful film. Seriously, this is a truly, truly awful movie. It is so, so pathetic. It is such an awful, pathetic film. It really, I could not stand Transformers The Last Night. I was baffled of how bad this movie was. I don't take breaks. Listen, I never take breaks during movies. I try to watch them in their full all at once. But this was one of those rare times I had to take a break. Because that's how bad this movie was. I was seriously, like, about ready to lose my insanity while watching this movie. This movie is awful. It really is. You know what? Let's just get to why it's awful. Let's just get right into why I think this movie is so awful. First being the acting in this movie. The acting is just complete and utter garbage. Nobody is trying. Everyone is just awful in this movie. Everyone. Mark Wahlberg, I don't know what he's doing. You know, I thought maybe when Age of Extinction came out, he could possibly make this franchise better as the better leading role, but obviously not. When he came along, these movies became 1,000 times worse than they already were. And he's just not good. He's not good in this movie. He really isn't. I didn't enjoy him. And let me just say, I love Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg is a fantastic actor. He was in one of the best movies of last year, Deepwater Horizon. But man, oh man, I don't know what he was doing in this movie. It just seemed like he was giving such a lazy performance in this movie. Anthony Hopkins, oh my goodness. Sir Anthony Hopkins, what are you doing? What are you doing? He is just there for exposition and just something for emotional weight, and of course, there for the paycheck. That's all he is. He is just there for the paycheck. That's all he is. Just nothing short of that. Just there for the paycheck, looking to get some moolah off of this. That's it. That's all he's there for. He's not there to give a good acting performance. And this is Anthony Hopkins, people. Arguably one of the greatest actors ever. And this is what he does. What? Like, he is just not good in this movie at all. Then we just have a bunch of random side characters. Like, there's like this little girl who tries so hard to be tough. It is laughable how tough this girl tries to be tough in this movie. She is so overacting, the woman that's playing her. She is so overacting. Like, she is really, like, hamming it up times 1,000. She is awful in this movie. Same goes with, like, Mark Wahlberg's, like, sidekick in the movie. He's completely awful. The voice acting for these Transformers is absolutely garbage. It's awful. It's some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard in my life. It really is. They are not good in this movie. They are just beyond awful. The voice acting is absolutely beyond terrible for these, you know, for these Transformers. They really are. They are beyond awful in this movie. It is so bad, the voice acting. So yeah, the acting is just not good in this movie. Both the acting from the live-action characters and the acting from the voice actors is just completely garbage. It's awful. It's terrible. It's so bad in this movie. The action sequences. Oh my goodness. The action sequences in this movie. You know what's something? I thought nothing was going to beat Resident Evil, the final chapter for the worst action of the year. But this came along and was like, you know what? Transformers Last Night was like, you know, like Resident Evil the final chapter was like, we have the worst action of the year. And Transformers Last Night is like, hold my beer. Because holy moly, the action in this movie is so sloppy and so poorly edited in this movie. It's nothing but just explosions. That is all it is. It's nothing but explosions and just terribly edited action. That's all it is. There were 6 people editing this movie. 6. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. 6 people editing this movie. What? 6 people edited this movie. 6. 6. 6 people edited this movie. 6. And And actually, it shows that 6 people edited this movie. Because, holy moly. The editing with these action sequences are absolutely awful. They are so overbloated. They are so just over the top. And so just bombarded that it's awful. Like, the action in this movie is complete and utter trash. It is arguably, honestly, like this and like Resident Evil: The Final Chapter are like neck and neck for like the worst action I've ever seen in my life. Because holy moly, the action sequences in this film are just absolutely awful. They are just so bad. I could not believe how awfully bad the action sequences. And if you thought the action sequences were bad in Revenge of the Fallen and Age of Extinction, you've seen nothing yet. You have seen nothing, good sir. Because, wow, the action sequences are just awful. Can I just say this? By the way, were you excited to see Optimus Prime in this movie? Because, you know, the whole marketing have him in all the trailers and all the posters and everything. Guess what? He's barely in the movie. Optimus Prime is barely in this film. Yeah, the leader of the Autobots himself is barely in this movie. Yet, he's been the main focus of the marketing. Literally has been the main focus of the marketing. And he's barely in the movie. Like, seriously. He shows up a little bit in the beginning. And then he doesn't come back until, like, the third act of the film. Dead serious. He is barely in this movie, and I was just like, oh, wow. Just wow. Just wow. Like, just wow. He is barely in this movie. Oh, yeah, and the whole thing, oh, by the way, you know what? Don't forget this. I'm gonna spoil this, because, you know what? If you really care that much, then don't watch this portion of the video. Because I'm going to spoil something. Because I need to talk about this. Because that's how bad this was in this movie. The whole Bumblebee and Optimus Prime fight. It's so bad. It really is. And, by the way, it lasts about, like, 5 minutes in the movie. Yeah, you know, the whole thing they were marking in this movie, it lasts, like, 5 minutes. It does. It lasts, like, 5 minutes. And, oh my goodness, the way that it concludes in this movie is so bad. I'm about to talk about it, so if you haven't seen this movie, then don't watch this part of the video, because I need to talk about this, because that's how bad. It's arguably the worst scene in the movie. I'm dead serious. It's arguably the worst scene in the film. So right before when Optimus Prime is about to kill Bumblebee, Bumblebee speaks. The main thing about Bumblebee is that he doesn't speak. That's what it kind of makes his character so interesting, is because he doesn't speak. And they have Bumblebee go like, Optimus, I'm your friend. It's me, Bumblebee. Like, oh my gosh. And my friend, Caden, put it perfectly. This was the Batman v Superman moment of this movie. Because you remember how the fight in Batman v Superman concluded? You know, in the stupidest way possible. Because, you know, they both had the same mother name. You know, both of their mothers were named Martha. That's how the fight concluded. And that's exactly how it was in this movie. Like, oh, and then all of a sudden, Optimus Prime turns good again. Because Bumblebee spoke. Wow. That was stupid beyond belief. That is arguably, to me, the worst scene of the year. Not only the worst scene of the movie, but the worst scene of the year. I was baffled of how bad that went. That was so awful. I was like, oh my goodness. That is so bad. That is so awful. That's how that fight concludes. You know what? I don't care. That was worse than the Martha fight. That was worse than the Martha thing in Batman v Superman. Yeah, you're dang right I said it. Because holy moly, how it was executed in this movie was 1,000 times worse. Wow, I could not believe they went there. They went there with this movie. If this franchise hasn't jumped the shark already enough, they just did it. They just did it for like the 1 millionth time with this franchise. There's no coming back from this. Like, there's no coming back from this moment. Like, wow, that was bad. That scene was so bad. Like I said, it's the worst scene in the entire movie, and it's the worst scene of the entire year. No question. There's gonna be no scene that's worse than it. No, nothing. That was just awful. Wow, I could not believe they went there with this movie. Oh yeah, by the way, the way that they handled the Megatrons in this movie is really completely awful. Megatron is one of my all-time favorite villains. I think Megatron is such an awesome villain. The way he's handled in this movie is complete and utter garbage. Like, it seriously is. It's so bad how he's handled in this movie. Oh, the writing with this movie. The writing. Yeah, what writing? It's absolutely awful. Wow. Wow. It's like they didn't even know what they wanted to do for a screenplay with this movie. It's like they did not know. It's like they had no idea what a screenplay was. They really didn't. They had no idea what a screenplay was, because, man, is there just... Nobody's trying. Like, the writing, the dialogue is just awful. Every word, it felt like they were talking. Like, every single word that these people said in this movie was completely awful. The dialogue is complete and utter trash with this movie. It seriously is. Oh, man, the directing. Oh, my. Michael Bay, listen. You can be a good director. You really can. You can be a good director. You've made good movies in the past. The Rock, Bad Boys, 13 Hours. Two-thirds of the Island. Stop. Stop. Just stop. Just please let this be your last Transformers movie. Keep to your word this time. Stop. It's time to stop. Wow. This is the worst directed movie of the year. Without question, this is the worst directed movie of the entire year. I could not believe how badly filmed this movie was. It is so poorly filmed. The directing with this movie is completely awful. It is terribly shot. Terribly shot is an understatement, to be completely honest with you. The editing is garbage. Like I said, it's edited by 6 people. It took 6 people to edit this movie. And it shows, because the editing is absolute garbage. It's the worst editing of the year. Like, the editing is so bad with this movie. The way it's directing is so completely awful. The cinematography is not even good with this movie. It's not. It's awful. It's awful looking. So yeah, the directing is just Michael Bay. Please just stop. Your directing was absolutely horrible with this movie, just like with most of the other Transformers movies. The only one I like is the first one. The first one I enjoy. The others have been either okay, which was Dark of the Moon, and then they've just been completely awful, like Revenge of the Fallen, Age of Extinction, and now this pile of garbage, which is the worst out of all of them. Michael Bay, please stop. Just stop. Don't ever touch a Transformers movie after this. Please don't ever touch a Transformers movie after this, because, yeah, it's awful. The directing is so bad. So awful. The story with this movie is so convoluted. Just like I said before, if you thought Alien Covenant made no goddamn sense, then you've seen nothing yet. You have seen nothing, because this movie just takes the story and just throws it out the window. They have no idea what the story is. They have no idea. No clue whatsoever what an actual story is. Oh, but film fan, it's a popcorn movie. You're supposed to get out of there with that crap. Okay, that's a popcorn movie. I'm supposed to turn my brain off and, not like, I'm sorry, I want a good movie with some good characters and a good story, and this movie does not have that at all. It has a terrible story. It has awful characters. So, you want to know something? You want to know a good example of a popcorn movie? Look at the Fast and Furious franchise, the later installments. Those movies are fun movies, but they also have great stories behind them and great characters. So, don't pull that crap with me, okay? Don't. Just stop there. Because, yeah, the story is so convoluted in this movie and so completely awful. Like, like I said, there's like 5 different storylines going on at once in this movie. Like, 5 different storylines. It's so awful and so all over the place that I cannot believe how jumbled of a mess this movie was. It's so bad, the story. Like, they had no idea where they wanted to go with this movie. And then, before I get into the pacing, the visual effects are garbage. They're awful. I don't know how some people are thinking these are good visual effects. They're absolutely awful. Like, like, Independence Day Resurgence called it. They want their visual effects back. Like, oh my goodness, the effects are so bad. Like, they really are. These are, like, the effects get worse and worse with each movie. They really do. The effects just get worse and worse and worse with each film. And they look the absolute worst in this movie, because the way the Autobots look in this movie are awful. They are so bad. I cannot believe how awful they looked in this movie. Just how completely awful they looked in this movie. Because, oh my lord, they look so bad. It looks so green screen. So it really does. It looks so green screen and so just like, yeah, this is not, like, not real whatsoever. The effects are so awful in this movie. They're arguably some of the worst I've ever seen in my life. They are so bad. Whoo! And now, the movie is so, boring! Holy moly, is this movie boring. This movie is almost 2.5 hours long. Want to know a movie that was almost 2.5 hours long that came out this year? Care for Wellness. That movie was almost 2.5 hours long. And that movie, for the most part, kept me invested in that film throughout the majority of that movie. But with this movie, with the runtime of almost 2.5 hours long, I was not invested at all. This movie drags on forever. It is nothing more. Like, these movies could be an hour and 45 minutes. Like, seriously, these movies do not need to be that long. They really don't. All it is nothing but exposition and just filler. That's it. And then you get an action sequence thrown into the movie. That's it. That's all it is. It is so boring. I was literally, like, just, I felt dead watching it. I'm dead serious, because it's so boring. Like, nothing interesting happens in this movie. Nothing interesting happens in this movie whatsoever. It is another bore fest. It is the most boring film I think I'm going to see all year. It is so boring. It is so lame and boring, this movie. It really is. It is so boring. Transformers: The Last Knight broke me. Oh, it broke me, alright. It may seem like I'm not that infuriated, but honestly I am. It's just, I have no words, to be completely honest with you. This was just so bad that I could not believe myself. Like, I could not believe what movie I just watched. Like, that's how baffled I am. Because I cannot believe that this was a movie. That this was an actual movie that was made, and people thought it was a good idea to kind of, you know, like, oh, this is a good idea, let's bring it to the studio. I don't know who in their right mind thought that this was going to be a good movie. Like, I'm dead serious. And I really don't get it. And thankfully, some people are starting to catch up with this, because the movie is made less, like, it made less in its opening week than any of the Transformers movies. Like, Age of Extinction, I believe, made like 63 million on its opening weekend. This, I believe, only made like 23. So people are starting to catch up. Like, yeah, these movies are terrible. Thankfully, some people are starting to catch up on these movies and know that they're complete and utter garbage. Seriously, this franchise just needs to die already. It is beating a dead horse at this point. It just needs to rest. Just let it die. Let it die, please. It is absolutely awful, this movie. This, without question, is the worst movie of the year, and nothing's beating it. Nothing. I'm sorry. This movie makes movies like Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, Fist Fight, 50 Shades Darker look like masterpieces in comparison. This movie is completely awful. It officially broke me. I have no words, no more. I think I said what I need to say about. I think I said what I needed to say about this movie, because, yeah, it's bad. It's really awful. Like I said, without question, this is the worst movie of the year. Nothing's topping it. No, nothing. Nothing is topping it. Because I officially, after I was done with this movie, I just had no words. I could not speak. I could not do anything. Because I was just that baffled that a movie like this was made. A movie this bad was made. Transformers, The Last Night, gets an F. I can't even do my FF. Like, I am that broken by this movie. Like, it gets an F, F, F. I can't even, like, do it in an angry way, because that's just how much this movie broke me. This movie, seriously, is awful. It is... I can't... It's that bad. Transformers The Last Night is one of the absolute worst things ever made. I have not seen a blockbuster this terrible. I thought Independence Day Resurgence was bad in terms of blockbusters. I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong. Because this is 1,000 times worse. It is without question the worst blockbuster of the decade, and is without question the worst movie of the year. Nothing's beating it. Nothing. Nothing at all. If I see a movie that's worse than this, God help me. Dead serious. This was bad. And I can't even believe this franchise has a fan base. Like, why? Just... You know what? I'm going to stop this review now, because if I go any further, I'm going to just lose my insanity. Yeah, this movie is just awful. I never am like this, but please don't go see this. Don't. Don't go see this. Don't waste your time, please. For the love of God, don't waste your time. Please. Don't. If you see this at Walmart, like on the Blu-ray shelf and whatever, just go bypast it and look for something else. Because this movie is not worth your time. It is not worth your time. It is not worth you paying $15 to go and see it. It's not worth you renting it on Redbox or whatever. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. This movie's not worth your time. Michael Bay is not worth your time. It really isn't. So just don't. Don't see it. It's awful. So what did you guys think of Transformers The Last Night? In the comment section below. A Dumb Film Fan 0599. And we'll see you all later. Peace.